Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make some spindle angels, and I know that a lot of people are in the mindset that angels are for Christmas, and while they work perfectly for Christmas and are generally used for that, I've always sold angels just whenever I put them out. So I had all these spindles, and as you can see, this one is even broken a little bit on the bottom, but I'm not going to worry about that. But I have several different types of spindles, and I'm going to turn them all into angels, or all the ones that I could find a place to cut them off and it somewhat resemble an angel. And as you can see on this one, it has that little area on the top that can be used for the head. And what I did was just cut it off and kind of sand around that a little bit. I didn't worry about making it perfectly round on top because this is a primitive piece, and with primitive items you don't want it to be perfect. You just want it to resemble, and then it works. And actually, the less detail that you have, the more primitive it looks. So I'm giving this 2 coats of the color drop cloth. And then once that dries, then I'm going to distress it with my little hand sander and just give it a heavy distress, because even though I'm painting over this, I want it to still have a really aged look. And then once I distress it and that dries well, then I'm going to put 1 coat of a matte finish clear coat, and I just use Dixie Belle for this. Now, some of the spindles that I'll use, I won't have to do anything to them. I'll just use them just the way they are. But for this one, I needed it to be lighter. So I'm going to make several tabletop angels, and then some that could be hung on like a cabinet door or a doorknob, or even put back for Christmas ornaments later. This one here is obviously way too big for a Christmas ornament, and I cut a little square piece of wood here that I have glued and nailed to the bottom of this so that it would have something to make it stand. So you'll see different types of these that I'm doing throughout this video, and some will be small ornaments, some will be oversized ornaments, and then again many of them will just be tabletop decor. And the one that I was just showing you was just an old leg off something that was very, very aged and primitive, and I'm even going to use it. So these don't have to be shaped the same. This one here, I thought I might do something with it, but so far I haven't come up with anything that I think will work. So I'm just going to save it and do something else with it later. Angels are some of my favorite things to make. I like having them in the store, again, any time of year. But they sell so good, and there's just so many things that you can do with them to give them their own look. And as you can see here, I'm heavily distressing this one. And I was wrong. I didn't use my finger sander on this one. I used a damp cloth. Now again, you can use a number of things to make the wings, but for this one, I'm just going to make a shabby bow, and I'm just guessing at how long I want these because I can trim them later. This lace is too wide, so I'm just going to cut it in half. And I'm just going to alternate the ribbons and then tie them together in the center, and that will make a shabby bow that I can use for the wings. Now I'm going to go ahead while I'm working on these and make several small ones to use as ornaments. And I know that sounds crazy that I'm already starting to make some of my Christmas decor, but when you have a store or even a booth, you have to make sure and have it stocked at Christmas time. So you can't wait 2 or 3 months ahead of time and think that you're going to be able to get it all done, because it just doesn't work. And especially with ornaments, I find that you need at least a couple dozen of each one, especially the ones that sell well. And so I'm just not, when I try to wait too long last year, I thought I had given myself plenty of time, and I started in July last year, and I could have used so much more even. So here and there, I'm going to be adding to my Christmas items, and to do that, I may slip in a video every now and then. Now, as you can see, I added a little neckline to this one. You don't have to do that, but I felt like it needed it. So, and then I'm just going to glue that bow to the back. And I have this gold cording here that I have painted over just a little bit. I didn't worry about full coverage on it, but I just kind of dry brushed over the top of it with the color drop cloth, so that I didn't want all that gold, but I wanted a little of it showing through. So I cut it the length that I needed to make a little halo, and I just kind of eyeballed it, and if it's too long, then I'll make it a little shorter. If it's too short, I'll just cut another one. But I want it a little bigger than the head, because I'm going to glue it to the back of the head at the very top, and I want it to kind of stand off of the head. So I glued the entire head in the back, if that makes sense. I put a bead of glue on the halo that would stretch across the back of the head. That way it would have plenty of hold. And now I'm going to add a hang tag to this, and again, if you get too much on these, they don't look primitive. So what I did was I took some cardstock and antiqued around the edges and stamped some scripture on it, and I'm just going to pick one of these and tie around the neck. And then I will present these in cellophane bags, and it will make a great little ornament. But also, you could give it to someone as for encouragement or something like that. So it's not limited at all to just Christmas. And I drilled a little hole in the top and screwed a little eye hook in there, and that's where you can add your hanger. Now, one of the things that you can do is cut up a doily that has a similar shape to wings, and starch them, or you can dip them in some watered down school glue. So that's what I'm going to do, is just dip them in some watered down school glue, and then just place them on a pan to dry. And I just let mine dry overnight, but I'm just cutting out the ones that I feel like will work for wings, and then I'll do something else with the rest of this. But I think I made like 3 sets out of this doily that was already damaged to begin with. And then I put some slightly watered down school glue in a paper bowl, and made sure to get that really good and saturated. And then I wrung out all the excess, and I did that with all of these. And then once I got that done, then I started to shape them the way that I wanted them to dry. And once these dry, they'll need to be trimmed a little bit there where I wadded that up, but I needed to get that kind of squished together so that I could make it shaped like the wing. And then I'll just kind of cut it right there when I go to add them on. So this is one that is large enough for a tabletop decor, or for some tabletop decor. And I've already trimmed these wings that have dried overnight, and now I'm just going to glue them to the back of the spindle. And as you can see, I'm just using hot glue. And I will finish this one off essentially the same way that I did the ornaments, except that it won't have to have the little hook in the top of the head. Now you could definitely add hair to these. I prefer this particular kind to not have hair. Again, I feel like it just gives it more of a primitive look. And then I tore a very thin strip of curtain shear and used it to tie the hang tag around the top. Again, more of the scripture tags that I had made. Now I made several of these little miniature angels by using, these are those little things that hang from a chandelier. And I thrifted a chandelier that had some missing, and then I used the others for various things. And this one is going to make a good little angel. So I tied some baker's twine around the center, just enough to make it look like two separate wings. And then I'm going to glue that to the back. And then to make the halo on this one, I'm just going to wrap some of this copper wiring. And I think this is just the thin copper that's used in jewelry making. And I'm just going to make the little halo with this. And then I'm going to put these in the little jewelry bags that you get at Walmart. And I just folded a piece of decorative cardstock over the top and stapled that on. Now here is another tabletop one that I'm going to do, and this is a larger spindle that I put on a block of wood, or my husband rather put it on. And this is some of the lace that I dipped in watered down glue and let it dry overnight. So now it's stiff and I can cut my wings out and they'll hold their shape better. Now I did cut these wings more narrow than I really wanted. I actually thought that they would look better if they were wider. So all that I did, instead of recutting them, is just cut some more pieces and kind of layered them down a little bit lower to make the wings larger. And I'm also going to use that netted ribbon from the Dollar Tree to add some extra dimension. So I'll just kind of layer that up with these wings. And then I'm going to add the same cording to make the halo on this one. And I'm going to dry brush it with just a little bit of buttercream paint to tone the gold down. And then tie a hang tag around this with some little flowy ribbon. And I think the ribbon that I used on this one was just some curtain shear that I had torn into strips. Now here is another larger spindle that again was used for an oversized Christmas tree ornament. Now, this next one is one that I just absolutely loved, and the reason is because this is a little leg to something, but it's very old and very primitive, and as you can see, it just has really, really gotten porous, and most people would think this is junk, but I just absolutely love it. So I put it on a piece of board. And now I'm going to use cardboard as my base. I'm just going to use a thin cardboard as my base for the wings. And then I'll layer I'm going to paint them actually first in the color buttercream. And then I'll just kind of layer some lace and some cheesecloth that I have coffee stained over the front and back of these, and then I'll attach them. But once I made these, I decided that I kind of liked the side that had more of the cheesecloth look, but some people might prefer the lacy side. So I didn't want to put these on with glue, and what I ended up doing was poking some holes through it and threading some wire through it and twisting that wire around to add the wings. And that way they can be removed if they need to be. Because this one is much more rustic than the others, I just used a thicker gauge rusty wire to make the halo. And then I let one piece hang down in the back long enough to slide through underneath the wing, and added just a little bit of glue to hold that in place. Now this one was a pretty large post. I think it was part of a post from a bed, and I needed something a little more substantial for the wings here. So I'm using these little brackets that you use to hang a shelf, and I'm just going to screw those to both sides. Now I had to go down a little bit lower than I would have because I needed a flat area, but I think it still worked out. I just would have preferred it a little bit higher. Obviously one of these has been partially painted, so I'm just going to be painting both of them. Now I'm using the thicker rusty wire here for this one also, and leaving a tail so that I can stick it down through a hole that I drill in the top of the head. And I drilled the hole toward the back, as you could see there, so that when I stick the wire down in, the halo will be in the front. Now for this one, I went through my husband's things and found a stash of these bed springs that someone had smushed, and I'm not sure how they did. These here are the lighter weight ones that you probably could do that with, but the ones that I found were the really heavy duty springs, so I'm not sure how they made that happen, but I found a whole bucket full of those, so I just thought that they would make some good primitive wings. And all I did was wire the two of them together with some heavy-duty wire, the same heavy wire that I'm using for the halo. This stuff is not real easy to work with, but I really feel like you need a substantial wire for the halo. You also need a thicker wire to attach those together, and then I just attach them to the spindle with a couple of screws in the back. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.